I just watched the Grammys, and I don't know what this is, but I feel like singing. Amy, do you mind if I sing your name?
Please.
Amy.
Riley.
Oh my God! Whoa! I felt like I was at the Grammys, me and you singing each other's names.
I was gonna try and come up with something really quick, like Riley Pony Club or something, but it was too much.
I was about to do "Her Name Is Amy" to I forget that song, "Espresso" by Sabrina Carpenter, but then I completely whiffed and I just did the kind of just a standard version. Yeah, but you and I both have Grammy fever. We were just talking about it.
Yeah. I have to say, I mean, I don't have much interesting commentary. Just like, I think this is the most relevant the Grammys have been in a minute because there were so many hot new star moments in the past year that you're like, oh yeah, like we haven't fully celebrated them all together at once yet.
Yes, yeah, I felt the same way. I only caught about 20 minutes of it, but I got to see the Billie Eilish performance, which I liked. It showed her in front of everyone saw this, but photos of her. And I really did like everybody being like, firefighters are amazing, and all the like Los Angeles stuff, support. I thought that was really sweet when Anthony Kiedis came out and he goes, what did he say? He was singing that song with that other guy, and I liked all that kind of shit.
Yeah. It opened with a sort of super group singing I Love LA, and normally I'd be like a bitch and judgmental about this and that, and I just like almost cried.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Like, I do love LA.
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet. So good job to the Grammy winners. You all did so good. Benson Boone.
The name you'll never forget.
Right. Okay, yeah, well, nothing else to talk about that. Congrats to all the winners.
Beyonce finally.
Right, album of the year, right? For the first time.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. Good job, Beyonce. Congrats to, I like the Sabrina Carpenter performance. It was kind of like people said Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
I saw that the goof of the coming down the stairs was a direct reference to something that Goldie Hawn did in the 70s on like a variety show.
Oh, was Goldie Hawn's also being a little silly?
Yeah, like where she like sinks below and it's like keeps going wrong. It was pretty referential.
Oh, that's awesome.
A nice pull.
I would have loved not that you and I would ever be invited to the Grammys, but that is really similar to something that I would want us to do if we were walking down the stairs. Like, you both
goof.
Yeah. Both wearing suits, and then like we walk down, and it like gets sillier and sillier, and then we pull off our outfits, and we look amazing underneath. Like it's just, I don't know. That concept was pretty cool to me.
Yeah, when she was like pretending to be nude because she took her necklace off, so you thought she was disrobed. Right.
Yeah. Do you think who had the biggest night?
Well, I mean, Beyonce.
Right, because you're album of the year.
Yeah. I keep seeing comments, which I agree with, that we deserve a Muppet special with Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh.
She would fit in perfectly.
Oh, why do people say that?
Because she's doing the goof. She does the goof and the glamour. She's like sort of Miss Piggy-esque in a good way.
Oh, right. I'm trying to think of Miss Piggy. She's kind of like Kermit. She loves
kind
Kermit.
Of a bitch.
Yeah, right. Okay,
she's glamorous.
Is Sabrina Carpenter supposed to be like that?
Well, she's like sexy, and she's like, I don't know. I really think they could have a funny competitive thing. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like she could flirt with Kermit.
Oh,
and he'd be like nice to her, and Piggy would be like, "Back off, bitch."
Oh my God. Oh, I can see it now. Sabrina Carpenter goes on stage. Kermit goes, I forget how Kermit talks. Oh, who are you? And then she goes, I'm Sabrina Carpenter and I have a crush on you, Kermit. And then
Kiss
Kermit
him
goes,
on the cheek.
He goes, oh. And then Miss Piggy, obviously,
domestic violence.
She loves Kermit, so she would be mad at Sabrina and Kermit as well. The only I don't know Miss Piggy too well, to be honest. I only know her from Christmas Carol Muppets, and they kind of toned down Miss Piggy's behavior, more repellent.
Her
features.
son is sick.
Yeah, she's kind of more endearing. They don't get into Miss Piggy's kind of warp dynamic with Kermit in that. So I don't know, but just you saying Sabrina Carpenter with a bunch of Muppets, she flirts with Kermit, Miss Piggy gets upset. It's already it's done. Yes, it's it. That's it. And then there's probably 10 or 15 more minutes of stuff, but that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah. So huge night for Beyonce, Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish,
Chappell Roan,
Chappell Roan. People are saying
Charlie
that
XCX.
huge night. People are in the spirit of forgiveness, I think, because everyone went through such horrible shit, So everybody's like, let's just get along. Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter buried the hatchet, I heard.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Because they had this 4-long feud. It was pretty horrendous. They were being so awful to each other. And they finally just said, let's put the knives down and appreciate each other. So a huge music night.
The biggest night in music.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, I hope everybody's still kind of feeling that Grammy fever on whenever this comes out. Tuesday. And, we didn't have a lot of news. Oh, you told me before we get into the Bravo news, which is going to boil over and be, astounding for everybody. You told me Baldoni was peeking his head in the news again. Right?
He should have gone to the Grammys just to be, saucy.
Yeah. Speaking of burying the hatchet, if Blake and him showed up, they could have done some wonders for them possibly getting back together. You told me there's some huge Ryan Reynolds news. I think it was you told me that it's proven now that Nice Pool, one of the most irreverent characters in the Deadpool franchise, was based off Baldoni. Is that true, or was that just a shitty rumor that
what I saw was that the internet sleuths found that in the credits for It Ends With Us, in the Blake's special thanks section, she thanks someone named Gordon Reynolds. And then if you go to the credits of Deadpool, Wolverine or whatever that movie was, the actor who plays Nice Pool is credited as Gordon Reynolds.
Holy shit. Open and shut case.
Yeah, I also saw that when people show the side profile of Nice Pool, that they appear to have exaggerated the size of his nose, which, as we know, she gave Justin Baldoni beef for having a large schnoz.
Oh my God. Whoa. Okay. So what's Baldoni going to do with that evidence? Could you imagine the courtroom when they play Nice Pool for the judge? They're going to have to stop the whole movie. They're going to have to stop the proceedings because the judge and the jury are going to be laughing too hard.
Yeah, they're like, this is hilarious. Totally worth it, actually.
Yeah. But what are they going to do with that? It just shows that they were being sort of mean-spirited. Yeah. Bullying a little bit.
So yeah, there's just, he's adding, Baldoni's lawyers, they have like a website called like freebaldoni.com or whatever, and they're adding all relevant information there for the public to, make up their own minds or whatever. And I think that was added. The New York Times, slug, date showing that like it was being prepared earlier than they thought was in there. And then what was the other? Oh, and then there's like all of the Ryan texts, like all of the texts between all of them are now in there. And so you get to see that like him and Ryan had a back and forth, and that Ryan was like, if you push back production, I'll tattoo your name on my perineum.
Yeah, I was so surprised that Ryan Reynolds still has that sort of subversive humor even in his real life. Yeah. So similar to kind of, if you've ever seen Deadpool, that's like almost
it's
exactly
true to life.
Yeah. So, so the perineum stuff, I saw that. Push the dates for me, please, and I'll tattoo your name on my perineum. Imagine getting that text from Ryan Reynolds. I saw that Blake Lively, I don't know if this is true, you got to verify it for me, that she skipped the meeting for the intimacy coordinator when he goes, is that true? Or
that's
is that
old news.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, God, when did I don't know where the hell I read that. I'm so sorry. I'm on the 6 months late Baldoni stuff, but anyway.
She was like, I'm good. Like,
Oh,
she was like,
cool.
I feel good about it, which the reason I dismissed that one is just because it doesn't really prove anything, in the sense that, like, just because she didn't take an initial meeting with that person doesn't mean that something unplanned didn't happen on set. You know what I mean? Like,
Of
it's
course.
it's not the most, like, I feel like the texts and stuff are so black and white. Like,
Right.
you can judge them as you wish, but, like, a lot of it in the footage, you're like, I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
True. Right.
know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yep. Of course. Okay. Sorry to bring that one up. That was just me being completely, not at all doing good in terms of reporting. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Um, no, it's funny to me that, like, Taylor Swift continues to come up, and I'm very curious about how she feels about being dragged into this.
Yeah.
If, like, she's starting to have to
Yeah.
decide what she's gonna do.
Taylor Swift kind of makes it hard for her fans to root for her sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I was just thinking, like, like they had to deal with her, like in that 1975 guy, when that guy
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I eat cigarettes."
Yeah.
And
I was thinking about that last night because he's engaged to one of the girlies that was stomping down the runway with Charlie last night.
oh,
And Taylor, I mean, she gets him and dances for everybody, but
right.
I wonder if she was like, "Ugh, I hate these bitches."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I expect a lot because we're still pre Super Bowl, so I'm expecting a lot of fun stuff from Taylor Swift up in that box. But anyway, we'll see. Well, good. So what's the end result of this Baldoni Blake Lively? They are going to go to court.
I think so. Which I think a lot of people are like, a guilty man would just go to court and not put all this information out. And I'm a little bit like, I mean, it's all a mess, and they should totally just settle and, like, get a grip. But I mean, as someone that's being very entertained by the information being released, I am biased. But I'm also like, public smear campaign for public smear campaign. Like, let the people decide.
Yes, and we are deciding right now. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, good. Well, as we have said, Turtle Time will be constantly updating you all with the latest Baldoni and Lively news. Anything else in the pop culture realm before we switch over to some Bravo news that I had?
Yeah, I think I've been distracted by the myriad of horrors, so I feel like nothing's really been able to supersede everything else that's going on in the
Right.
past week or two.
Got it. I fully understand. Okay. Well, all right. Well, that segues nicely into me talking about this Bravo shit that came up on my radar. So, since we last recorded, there's a little more Paige and Craig fallout, which I'm sure we'll talk about when we talk about Southern Charm today, because this episode we're going to be talking about Salt Lake City Reunion Part 2 and Southern Charm. But yeah, Austen went on Watch What Happens Live. I don't know if you saw that with Miss Pat.
Yeah.
And Austen said, first he goes, "Hey, just so you know," because Andy said, "What do you think about the rumors that Paige is dating that one guy, Joe D'Amelio?" And Austen goes, "These are not just rumors, Andy. I think we all know the truth of this, and Craig knows it as well." And then Paige wrote on a comment, she goes, I forget what she said, how she
was
worded
like,
it.
"Oh, great. A guy I haven't seen in 6 months knows what I'm up to."
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that was it. Like, it was something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, definitely that makes sense. It's like, okay, Austen doesn't know what he's talking about. But also it's not a full denial, you know, that, yeah. But yeah, so that happened, kind of interesting. Miss Patricia said that Paige treated Craig not very nicely, was sort of mean to Craig, which I think people were in a little bit of an uproar about as well. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, shocker that Pat takes up for her boys. She always does. I will say, she said Naomi was mean to him. Paige was mean to him. She said he deserves someone that will be nice and supportive of who he is or whatever. I will say, I do recall Naomi being mean to him, but he was like a full fuck up at the time. So I understand, but they always use it as evidence of her not supporting his pillow career, because he's like, "Look at me now. I'm a pillow impresario." And it's like, all right, but like, really, who thought that was going to happen?
True. Yeah, 1 in a million would have said, I think this is going to be an empire. But
And yeah, I mean, I don't, him and Paige seemingly had a pretty good relationship and they really liked each other. And it seems like he felt very inspired by her, like ambition and all this stuff. I do think, obviously, ultimately, there was something that she didn't want to be with him in the long run about. So, like, you could always feel that little bit of, like, she kind of thought he was a little bit of a moron. Or, like, she's always like, thank God he has me. Like, I'm pulling his whole life together.
Right.
Which I think probably resulted in some, like, resentment.
On Paige's part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very quite possible. And also, you sent me this. I can't believe I buried the lead on this one. That Kyle Cook talked about the amazing season of Summer House that they're having, and he said they had to pick up cameras to catch the Paige and Craig fallout. And then also Austen on a different podcast. I wish I could give credit to the podcast, but I just saw one clip. He went on a wonderful podcast, and he said that Southern Charm also picked up cameras to get Shep, Austen, and Craig's reaction to the breakup as well. So Bravo is capturing this. We thought we were going to be left in the lurch here, for 6 months, but now we're going to have, episodes of content. Rival productions capturing different sides of this breakup, which is pretty fun.
I love that. I think that's like, we've already talked about this, but it's happened before, but I do feel like Scandival was the new bridge forward of like, we need to keep shit relevant now that everything is so newsworthy. Other series have done it before, but now more than ever, people are consuming the news on, Instagram and wherever else. So the show is stale if you wait too long. So they're like, if it's within reason of the window, we have to get the cameras picked up,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I want to see it. And then I think also this could be complete bullshit. So please, Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, take this with a grain of salt. But I think Kyle said, or someone said, that scene where Paige is talking about Craig is actually more of an example of what they were really going through, her and Craig, and might make more sense in the context of like as a huge issue that they were overcoming in the moment. So we may be watching Summer House in a new light, just seeing what they were like dealing with during that time.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like, Kyle is supportive of Paige because obviously like that's who he knows, and I don't think he ever even liked Craig in the first place. And then the Southern Charm people are going to be anti-Paige because she was encroaching on their territory.
And then there's us, perfectly in the middle, who loves both of them completely and respects both of their opinions, right?
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see what happens. Okay, well, that was it for that news. Anything else, Bravo? Anything else percolating for you?
I don't think so. I assume you haven't been able to see any movies yet since I last saw you.
Oh man, I wish I had seen a movie. I watched It Hurt My Feelings again last night. You Hurt My Feelings. Yeah, it's available on Netflix. I find that to be a very endearing, beautiful movie, and I watched it again last night. Sort of a comforting film. But no, I have not watched any of the Best Picture nominees, but I know I'm going to very soon.
I saw the monkey movie yesterday.
Oh,
A Better Man.
Oh, I thought you were thinking of. I totally, for some reason, thought that movie, The Monkey. Where I think it's Oz Perkins, and it's about one of those clapping monkeys.
I'm already anticipating being pissed off by that movie.
Yeah. But... Oh, yeah. I mean, it looks like absolute shit. But you saw Robbie Williams, the biopic where he is using they are using CGI of him as a kind of a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
But it's so. What did you think?
It was pretty good. I admire the large swing. I was entertained. I liked it.
That's awesome. Good. I'm trying to think of questions that I have. without seeing it. So I've heard, do they make it make sense that he is a kind of
Not
a
referenced. It's
Okay.
just his feeling of being an outsider is
Oh,
the point.
I see. And so when everyone's talking about him, like being like that guy is weird.
They're not like that monkey motherfucker.
Wow. Do you think it's not at all possible that he just showed up to set every day with those green dots on his head and then they decided to retroactively paint him like a monkey using CGI, right?
He didn't know.
Well,
He didn't do the physical
oh.
CGI acting. He like narrates it and sings, but there's a different actor that played him.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, well, good. I'll definitely watch Better Man. I was thinking that I'll probably be catching up 6 months from now on Turtle Time whenever something goes to like HBO Max or whatever, and then I would love to talk about all those films with you.
Conclave's on Peacock.
Oh, I know. Yes, I will definitely watch that. I watched about 5 minutes of that, and I can't not wait to see the rest.
Sounds real.
Good. Well, we are going to start with we're so, last week Salt Lake City had part 2 of the season 5 reunion. You and I have not talked about it yet, so I was thinking maybe you and I could dip in there, breeze through, rip through, talk about all of our favorite moments of part 2 of that reunion. How does that feel for you?
Do it. I was entertained.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, in terms of entertainment, yes, I absolutely was. It starts out, I want to say, well, I guess first, because my first notes are about Meredith. Meredith really, it was kind of a sad reunion for Meredith. Overall, I felt really bad for her. I felt like she was like the butt of everybody's jokes and like, she was really so upset and, she's easy to make fun of for people because she's so like, I don't know what personality characteristic. She kind of gets like, I don't want to say anything mean.
Doesn't have a sense of humor about herself.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit like that. But then by the end of it, when they were talking about her shitty breakfast at Tiffany's bangs, and like they were like not giving her the due diligence to like show that the audio of her not being it, how Angie's been dragging her name through the mud. I just like kind of got sad for Meredith, overall. So I just want to kind of highlight that up front in case I forget to mention that.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like it was giving "can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen."
Really, but
vibes.
I don't think. Oh, okay, good that we have a disagreement. I don't feel like Meredith turns on the kitchen heat very often.
I'm just like, you don't. I mean, I guess Andy sort of introduced it because he brought up what the control room was saying in his ear. But I'm like, you housewives don't get to say which clip gets rolled. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like she was like, if you don't guarantee me that you're going to show the clip that defends me, I'm leaving. And I'm like, that's not how it works, hun.
Yeah, yes, I had a little bit of that, but I guess we'll go into it because that's the first part. I was also like, this has lasted so long, like almost 2 seasons, that I was ready for just the evidence to say, Your Honor, let's move forward.
And guess what? It didn't look good for her of the gay podcast part.
I have a different opinion. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it right now. So first it starts out with Meredith. I forget what the hell she's talking about. She goes, Angie's been ruining my life. She's been talking about my rental house and how I only live in Utah half the year.
Andy was like, don't you rent? And she was like, Andy, please. He was kind of like at her neck for a minute.
He was. Also, I felt like Andy didn't want to talk for 20 minutes about the Sean and Angie versus Meredith stuff. He got really fed up. And that's why when you and I were talking about how the hell is this going to be 3 parts, last part, we were kind of like, what else is there to discuss? Like, it was all Bronwyn and Lisa, but this took like half of the episode, them parsing this shit. So it kind of like makes sense, I guess, that they spilled over into having 3 parts because they made a big deal of this going back and forth.
Yeah, once they show the clip, Andy goes, "That's what this was about." He's like, "I'm sorry, but this is an absolute waste of time." And Meredith's like, "Well, I don't think so." And like he was like, "I hate this."
Yeah, he was pissed that he even had to be talking about it. So they kind of say Meredith brings up that she didn't use her son as leverage to get out of the rumors that she was calling Sean gay. Then they play the clip. And I loved when Andy Cohen, they play the clip from, I think it's called Behind the Velvet Rope. And the podcaster, whoever was interviewing Sean, gave this like very long-winded question that was the most leading question of the century to get Sean to say the answer that he wanted. And Andy goes, that was a very leading question. I can't believe that's what it's about. And then everyone makes fun of the question. Even Heather says, don't ever go on a podcast, because she's basically saying that they will twist your words. And
Heather keeps being like, stop trusting all these Bravo fucking freaks that are getting you all in trouble.
Yes, totally. And I was also, I understand how it looks that Meredith, what did Meredith do? She immediately went to a GLAAD event and what was she using her son as a defense to escape these rumors? Wouldn't she have already?
She was just like saying, like, that's not something I would ever do because of my association with like the gay community or whatever. But like she keeps saying like Angie and Sean keep being like, the interviewer brought it up. Like, we didn't pull this out of nowhere. Like, it was mentioned, and Meredith's like, no, I have the clip. And they're like, play it. Like, and she's like, no. And then they play it. And it's like, it's like 30 seconds to a minute of the guy saying the exact sentiment. And it's like, Meredith, like, how many times have you listened to that? Like a million? Like, don't you know that that's what happened?
Yeah, true. Well, here's what I'll say. My overall feelings are, I do not think that Meredith secretly was implying that, or even if she was, it's not the biggest deal or revelation that should shock the universe, but I really don't even think Meredith did. So by the time they were parsing who said it, and they were like, it's either Monica's word versus Meredith's word, the clip of Monica saying, I did not hear it from Meredith, and also Monica being the one to first bring the rumor onto camera, for me, that is the full 95% of the husband rumor. And Meredith is only getting such the wrath of Angie because Angie knows that it's very compelling for her to have a huge feud with an OG. So I know with all of my heart that Angie is purposefully making a bigger deal of this whole thing, just to, for us as viewers to love that she's feuding with Meredith for this long.
Right. And even Andy's like, yeah, this is so stupid. Like, that was coming from an unreliable person on both ends. So why are we even still talking about this?
Yes. But I do understand that if Meredith, so the worst thing that Meredith could have done is that when she said the rumors and nastiness, or you want to talk about the husband, the worst thing is that she was the one who told Monica about that. But I really do not believe. I think that Meredith was just making some, a threatening accusation when she was really drunk or whatever. But regardless of anything that Meredith did, it has been going on much too long, like Andy, said. But I understand why for Meredith, this is such a thing that she's passionate about to defend, because if the reality is true that Monica was lying her ass off, which Monica did that 1,000 times, then I would want this never to be brought up again, that she was insinuating that Sean had a bunch of was in homosexual relationships with a bunch of people in Salt Lake City. So I understand, for me, it's about Meredith's character, and she's also tired of Angie making so much of this over and over again, so that I felt her frustration when she was like, Andy, just put the fucking evidence out for all of us to see. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I was finally starting to really feel bad for Meredith, but I understand the alternative too. Yeah.
I wonder if they would have shown both clips if she didn't insist.
I think they needed to, because it was hard for me, even as someone who watched Salt Lake City season 4 with we recapped every episode. I didn't remember the nuance of that conversation.
No,
so I think it was worthwhile to know about it. But you're half right too, because I understand that it's overly dramatic for Meredith to say, I'm going to walk out of here. It was, she does go over the top and kind of gets a little performative when she knows she has something to grab onto. Yeah. So maybe I did think that was a little too much. But anyway, I did feel for Meredith overall. So I just thought I should mention
it was
that.
just it's such a complicated for no reason. Like there's like 10 prongs to it that I'm glad that we can move on. Like I'm sick of it.
Do you think we can?
I think hopefully God.
Yeah, because I personally have moved on from it.
Yes.
I don't think about it I don't think about it every week, month, ever. Then we get to a little bit of John and Justin. So the husbands are still out there. And I think it was very easy for them to resolve. John and Justin basically both apologized for them getting kind of, almost wanting to fight each other at that, what was that, mafia party?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that resolved easily. Anything you wanted to say about that?
Lisa clarifies once and for all that the circle jerk comment was an analogy. Andy kind of helps her, says that was an analogy. And which I'm like, I hope Housewives moving forward learn that the analogies never go well.
Oh, really?
Pulling one out of your hat, people always take it at face value and get pissed.
But I say the opposite. I say make analogies all the time, and the recipient of the analogy needs to understand what the person is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it did feel like in the chaos of the moment, being that there are already rumors about Sean,
yes,
it felt messy. Mm-hmm. Not the best way to get your point across, I don't think.
Yeah, for having the most like climactic moment of the season finale be about the John Barlow and Lisa threesome, like Lisa making out with someone while John gets jerked off in the corner, it really got brushed aside pretty quickly. Like you and I really talked about that, and we talked about how shocking it was in the moment, and then it was kind of just like nothing. And he goes, "Did you hear, John? What about those rumors that you were getting jerked off in the corner of your bedroom while Lisa made out with that person?" He goes, "I never heard those rumors."
They laughed it off pretty much.
Yeah, they laughed it off. And then Whitney goes, "Don't you see what I was trying to do? I realized that Lisa hates the most when I talk about husband rumors and marriage rumors, so I wanted to say the one thing I didn't want to say." And everybody goes, "Very good, Whitney. Thank you for explaining that." But yeah, they brushed it off, maybe possibly because they didn't want to give more light to
credence. It was a smart idea. It went away, which you don't want to talk about that for longer than you have to.
I understand why John doesn't want the that image out there. Just like Sean wouldn't want him, the idea that he was in a big circle of people. But Heather, this is a fun moment in the uncensored version. Did you watch that? The uncensored. This was a sweet Heather and Todd moment that I thought was very interesting to see. It was at the dinner where Todd came and they had a dinner party. I forget whose house it was at. Meredith's?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But it was Heather was Todd. Heather was talking about how she doesn't feel confident, and like she was talking about something. And Todd gave her a bunch of amazing compliments back to back. I guess this is after when Heather was like talking shit about Todd. But he said that he goes, "Stop saying that kind of stuff. You're exceptionally attractive. You're exceptionally dressed, and I think you're pretty smart, and I love that."
Yeah, Bronwyn was like, "Don't say too much. Don't go too far." And he's like, "Oh, sorry." But that was like one of the only nice Todd moments, and they cut it. And
there was one more too, where Angie goes, I don't know, they cut all the good Todd stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because then Angie said, I go to the gym with Todd all the time, and he'll send Bronwyn selfies of him and Angie hanging out doing pull-ups and stuff like that, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, they had a bunch of pics. This was on the heels of Heather saying, they bring up that Heather had said that their marriage reminds her of her former marriage, where she was very much just like trying to stay in line and, be a good wife or whatever. And we get to that in a minute, but just before or after that, they get into the Seth biatch of it all. He claims he didn't realize how aggressive it was, but then he also said that if he saw John on the street, he would call him biatch.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't, I kind of understood. He said they'd been drinking since 7 a.m., starting with on the plane. So he was drunk as a skunk. He likes saying biatch in his normal daily life. I guess. But he even had to admit, you don't scream biatch at the top of your lungs with his eyes basically rolling back in his head as he said it. Not a great Seth moment, but I was glad that he took accountability. And then Whitney kind of, it's getting kind of brushed aside because Seth offers the mea culpa. And Whitney goes, wait just a second. She's like, I want to know more, Seth, but it's clear that everyone wants to move on, but Whitney doesn't have a lot to talk about, so that was a huge moment for her. So she goes, so you're not going to say sorry to me, Seth? And he goes, I started by saying I'm sorry. And then they all just move on completely.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, but Justin didn't defend in the biatch moment. And he goes, why, Justin, did you not defend your wife's honor when Seth screamed biatch at her? And Justin goes, I had just resolved myself to not get in drama anymore. So, but that was a bad timing. I should have done something about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then we get into the Bronwyn Todd emotional affair conversation, which is interesting. Todd says, I think Andy asked him, like, how did you feel watching her reveal that stuff to the women? And he goes, I haven't seen that part. I didn't watch it. And Bronwyn's like, it's very hard to watch, you know? And she's sort of throughout this backtracks.
Completely.
Yeah. He says, you know, anything that she shares is more than I would want her to share. Like, he basically like doesn't want her to say shit about them. And she does a word salad. She goes, there's a lot of people he has conversations with. Some are further than I would like. And he says more than I would like him to say. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you made an entire scene about this emotional, heartbreaking thing that he had to apologize with the 5 diamonds and like this whole thing. So it's like, were you lying then or are you lying now? I mean, you're lying now, but
Yeah. Heather, I love Heather because her like Bronwyn bullshit meter or whatever, her radar for Bronwyn's bullshit is always on. And she goes, did he or did he not have an emotional affair? And everyone tries to defend Bronwyn and be like, she said it was emotional, but she didn't get to, yeah, like you said, she didn't make it clear at all what had actually happened. Like we need to know, was he saying like, see you soon? Or like when he was texting people, like what the hell was it? She also says it wasn't happening in the moment, which makes it even less of a big deal. Like that this had happened sometime in their past. And I basically exactly what you said, word salad, to where I feel like everyone just got kind of distracted and they didn't know the reality of what she was trying to say. And only Heather and Lisa were trying to keep her on track to get to the bottom of it. So, you know, another, you know, Bronwyn sort of getting busted in a potential lie, like we talked about a lot last week too.
Lisa is like, I mean, I got in trouble for not saying fuck Todd. And she's like, I would never want you to say fuck Todd. And I'm like, well, the conversation was that they took his side and you were pissed about that. But now she seems appreciative that Lisa was saying he's not going to like that you said that or whatever. And Meredith is pissed that they got called out for potentially siding with him since they've had infidelities in the past, when now it seems that no one is worried about what Todd did at all.
I know. It made no sense. I mean, it was one of the biggest reveals from Bronwyn this season. I mean, like she had an amazing season, but for one of those things to just fully collapse and her not being able to elaborate in the moment, it was really bad. And I totally understand Lisa and Meredith's reaction. What did you think about Todd's 5 promises? We finally learned. I'll start with the first one. Support.
Yes. I like that he like really, you were not sure if he was going to be able to remember them all. He was like, support, love, fidelity, take care of Gwen. And then he was done and she goes, and transparency was the last one.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. It was great to know. I mean, I was worried about what they were, but they're pretty straightforward. I mean, no curveballs here. Support, love, fidelity, transparency. That kind of gets to the heart of those text messages.
I like how you would think, like, when you picture the diamonds, like the one word promises like sounds so clean. And it's like support, love, fidelity, take care of Gwen.
Right. Yeah, I like that one too. That was a little bit of an outlier there. Good. Yeah. So that was wonderful.
Did you think Todd was like fuming, or he looked upset? She had to keep turning to him and being like, you're okay. You're okay. It's going to be okay. Like, I was like, oh God, I'm scared.
Yeah. I was scared too. Yeah, it's at the end of the husband's part, but she also has to give Todd advice. She was like, "That was a little spicy between you and John, so let's wait before you guys go to the toilet at the same time." I was like, "That wasn't bad at all." And why do you have to constantly be always giving Todd advice for how to like handle everything? You know, like
Yeah.
that's me.
Did you like when Angie is like, Bronwyn being a new person actually did reveal a lot in her season or whatever, and Mary goes, "That's why she's a fan favorite."
Yeah, I like that fourth wall break. I mean, it's true. Bronwyn is an absolute fan favorite. I mean, she is, right?
I think so. I haven't really dug into what people are saying about her potential lying, like, or if people even really care.
No one's
that
reported
much.
on it except you and I.
Right.
No one talks.
You have to get it here.
This is a Turtle Time exclusive. We're the only ones calling out Bronwyn on her bullshit. But I'm of two minds. I loved Bronwyn on the show. My least favorite moments of Bronwyn were when she was being really insecure about her place on the show, when she was obviously very dynamic and compelling. She made all of her worst missteps when she was like seeking and craving affection from the audience or from Lisa. So I'm excited for the confident Bronwyn of for her second season, hopefully.
Yeah, totally. Ends with Todd joking that he'll give Vita Tequila another chance. They don't hold it against him or say you're taking food out of our mouths by saying it's bad. They just joke and it's fine.
I thought that was a fun tee up for what they can do next season. Todd, Vita Tequila tasting. They said, you got to see what Vita Tequila is like compared to the pure shit that you've probably been having. You could just imagine Todd at the facility at Vita sipping little, drips of Vita Tequila and kind of having his mind blown with how good it is next season.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Me too.
We get a little look into Meredith and Seth's marriage. Meredith clarifies that they are indeed monogamous. Seth says he takes a business tactic in doing an annual review. And as long as they're 51% good, that he'll stay.
Yeah, and everybody goes, "That's really low." Seth, everyone calls him out, but that for him it's good. 1% above to make it good versus bad, right? 51%.
Yeah. They ask if he has a side chick in where does he go? Ohio or something.
Yeah, he says actually he goes, "I've got two of them," and everybody gets completely shocked. They all gasp, and then he goes, "My two hands, I masturbate with these."
I'd be like, okay.
And then Andy said something. She goes, "They sure are pretty."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Seth for you though. He's kind of he's got the not in the full extent of the irreverent humor, but Seth is definitely the most towards like Ryan Reynolds's I would say subversive humor on that cast. Do you agree?
Yeah, I was like, can we get the husbands out? After he said that, I was like, next.
Yeah, they are, but Todd brought new energy to what a house husband can be on the Salt Lake City franchise. But before Todd, I would have said this is probably the worst house husbands franchise by far. It's not their fault. They're just not, they're not as entertaining, as a group.
Yeah. On their way out, Bronwyn is like, to Todd, she goes, "Why don't you wait to leave until after John is gone because you guys got a little spicy." And she was like, "It was outrageous for him to tell you to watch your mouth. He needs to watch his wife's mouth."
I know. Yeah, I was a little, because of how I felt in the last part where I was defending Lisa a lot from Bronwyn's like accusations. I kind of had no tolerance for Bronwyn still trying to make Lisa look like a monster in this part. I was kind of like completely over it because that was her intention with like pretending like John was like going to beat up Todd or something,
Yeah.
So, yep. And then next we get the Mary Cosby segment. They spent a lot of time focused on this, like maybe like 10 or 12 minutes dedicated to this. I think because everyone absolutely thought this scene was so, powerful and beautiful this season. How did you feel about that?
It was great. I mean, I think I can confidently say I've never seen Andy this emotional at a reunion ever.
Yeah. I had never seen Andy make that face when he was crying. You know, when someone's
Yeah.
like really crying and they create a new type of face that you've never seen. I had never seen him look like that.
Yeah.
He was so upset when he was talking about the thing that really got him. You know, they're going into it, and he brings up the question. He goes, "For me, hearing Robert Jr. say that he felt like a stain, and
Yeah.
then he barely could get through that
I
before he just
know.
like completely broke down."
I think he really has softened having kids, and like I could just you know you have to assume he imagined like his son saying something like that, and it like broke him. Like he like couldn't consider it, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, they he's brings up that the public response was amazing. Mary said that her mission was accomplished by seeing the public response and support, because she wanted people to be helped by this, which whenever you show something that honest about something that's considered taboo, it's always amazing. And she said that she didn't, it wasn't planned, like they didn't know what was going to happen, but she didn't expect him to say all that, / she didn't know that it was that severe. But she said that he did want to go to rehab. He was there for 30 days. He's home a lot more now. He goes to AA or maybe NA, I don't know. And she seems to say he's doing better. I hope, he stays strong. But yeah, she was getting very emotional, talking about how, she didn't want him to feel that way. She worked really hard, like moving him to New York for 8 years so he could have the best education and more diversity than she had. And she brings up Robert Sr., who said that he told her she was a beautiful mom and that he was proud of her after he saw how she handled it. And Andy was like, does he say that to you often? And she was like, no. Yeah. So it was like a big deal, which I'm like, will we ever know what his deal is? Like, it's like their marriage is so weird to me, but it's hard to say if you just have nothing to go off of.
Yeah. I want to see him again. I don't really remember. How many scenes was Robert Sr. in back in the past?
I just remember him sort of like being in the kitchen sometimes, saying a few words, but I don't think we got anything major.
I want to see him again. I need the Robert Sr. highlight reel.
Yeah.
All of his best moments on Salt Lake City. Like a 30-minute compilation of what he's been doing, because I do not remember any of his moments, but it was sweet to know, that he was gave Mary that rare compliment. They talk about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I just like that Andy commended Robert Jr. for his articulate description of life as unseasoned chicken, and that drugs give it seasoning. I appreciated that as well. I was like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Drugs, well, no, I don't want to get
Spice
into
up
it,
your
but
life.
I mean, if you're just if you're just going through life and then all of a sudden you sprinkle like cocaine or Molly into your system, it completely makes it kind of your life seem a little different for about 30 minutes. Angie, I loved that, they get really into the Angie Mary friendship, which is one of the most, I mean, it's a beautiful friendship. It's like Mary, she says for the first time she has a true friend on this cast, which
to Meredith.
Meredith is kind of, you could tell that she likes this friendship, but also it kind of makes their former friendship that they had seem sort of like fake and lame before, because now we see how Mary treats a true friend, where they're like crying and saying I love you every second. So Angie was very good to Mary. She was like, you said all the perfect things, like it was just you in that moment. And it was true. Like Mary handled that scene so well with Robert Jr. Like everything she said was perfect. They have that moment, and then Andy says, which I thought it was fine, but he was just like, not to start anything, but do you think that, why is this friendship so much more impactful to you, Mary, than your friendship with Meredith? And then they kind of get into it. And Mary handles it very diplomatically, I thought. She doesn't make fun of Meredith very much at all. She just says that Meredith has a completely different lifestyle than her, but she still respects Meredith and loves her and everything, which I thought was sweet,
Yeah, she was like, she gave her the out and said, you're really busy, so like I can't, depend on you as much because you're not always here. There's also a sweet moment where I think Andy broaches it where he asks Angie if she could sort of relate to this topic because of her mom who like died of alcoholism, and she said she was so little when that happened that she couldn't help her mom, and that Mary told her that if her mom could come back and do it all over again, she would do it differently. And it was really sad and sweet. And everyone like chimes in, like Heather said it helped her open a conversation with her kids, and then Whitney, who's very upset, which I was like, oh yeah, like Andy didn't even think of making the connection about her dad. So she brings it up and says that she hasn't talked to her dad since season 1, and that watching the show with her kids helped her explain to her kids why they don't have a grandpa, which they don't really like get too into it. I don't know if it's just like, you know, too personal or not something they wanted to delve into, but they kind of move on. But I wonder if that's something that will come up again later. Because I do like, he was a big part of the first season or two.
Yeah, totally.
And then I like forgot about that, you know, recently.
Yeah, same here. And then they kind of end the segment where Andy reads like a really mean tweet about Meredith. He goes, the tweet said, Mary probably wanted Meredith to leave the minute that she walked in with those bangs, about how the brunch party, that Breakfast at Tiffany's party must have, kind of ended their friendship for a little bit. And then Mary says those bangs were a type of suffering that she had to deal with. So doesn't really say that those bangs were nice. And then Meredith kind of just has to sit there and she goes, I don't really care that you all thought my bangs were ugly. I've been called so much worse on this show. I've been called a whore, a narcissistic piece of shit, homeless. Like she starts reading
eating
this
disorder.
Like, and you can just tell that Meredith absolutely hates this part of the reunion, the whole reunion, this season. The fun meter for Meredith versus the nightmarish toxic meter for Meredith, it was much more skewed to like toxic, mean-spirited towards Meredith. And I'm wondering why that is. Is it just because Meredith is kind of an easy target for Whitney and Angie to get shots fired at, because Meredith kind of just like breaks down and just gets kind of indignant and walks away, or I don't know. I don't know what it is, but ultimately by the time they were just making fun of her bangs and she was talking about all the shit that they've all talked about her, I was just like, oh damn, like does Meredith enjoy this show anymore? Do the benefits outweigh the negatives for her overall?
Yeah, I think that's something I've been thinking about. Like, she always just seems miserable, and she doesn't say much, and she's always offended. And I'm just, like, not getting that much enjoyment out of her recently. Like, I feel like everything she does is in retaliation. She's not really, like, moving anything forward herself.
Yeah. For me, she's like Dorit used to be on Beverly Hills, where they're not a main cast member fueling the show, but they are a good iconic institution within Salt Lake City, where it's just like, yeah, it's Meredith. She shows up, she does some kind of stuff, she says silly stuff every once in a while, like she's just a fixture. But I also wonder, like, yeah, does Meredith get any joy from this? Because it's hard to enjoy watching someone when they have no joy. Like, what does Meredith like about being on Salt Lake City? Like I'm trying to imagine like her, like if she was like golfing and her like being really like giddy and being like, I love to golf. Like I can't remember any scenes where Meredith was like having a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. Because I feel like even when she does have like, I don't know, we got that sort of allyship moment between her and Heather for a minute when they were looking for the bug in her hotel room or whatever, and even that wasn't that fun. Yeah,
Heather really had to make that fun. Heather had to make that humorous, and Meredith was kind of taking it like it was actually real, and she wasn't fully in on the joke.
Yeah, like I feel like if she had done that in a good moment with like Whitney or even back in the day Jen Shaw, like it would have been like super goofy and like funny and like sleepover energy, and then with Meredith it was like weird.
And a part of it is She's probably miserable because Angie and Whitney are constantly slinging horrendous accusations at her all the time. But and Lisa, we saw Lisa get bogged down by that as well this season. She's truly upset. I wonder if there's a way where you can be the victim of the onslaught of everyone coming at you and be a target and still push back powerfully enough to be compelling and provide joy on the show. Because I'm like wondering, is Meredith she's just bummed out because every other scene is like Brittany accusing her of having an eating disorder, which is what she says, all the Sean rumors or whatever. I just don't know what the balance is. Like, can Meredith needs to just like find joy some way on this show again, because it's not fun for an audience to think that she's just being berated every single episode and she hates it.
Right. Yeah. We'll see what happens when Brittany joins next week. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to that. I feel like it's going to be like all hell broke loose because everyone has something to say about her.
It's also such an indignity to make the cast member, because Meredith is in the last seat, to put Brittany next to Meredith so that when you're fighting with someone you absolutely hate, you have to be right next to them on the couch. Like, that's awful for Meredith too, because now she has to be right next to this person that she hates, and that's like that's like a seating arrangement thing.
Got fucked.
Yeah, they did. And then at the end, Mary goes, Meredith, I love you. I know that you're suffering over there, because Meredith was on the verge of tears a couple times, which I felt really bad about. Mary knows that she's had a rough part this reunion, so they get up and they have a hug, which I thought was really sweet, and that's how they end the episode.
Yeah. Mary's like, did your boobs get smaller? And she's like, yeah, remember? Andy's like, I keep tabs on all of this. Remember, she got a breast reduction? And
yes, she totally did. And then they say they're going to grow back and be even bigger pretty soon, because that's something that happens to Meredith.
Yes. But yeah, I've been entertained, and I think next week will be fun because they really held out for Brittany until the last part, which she'll bring a lot of entertainment, I think.
Totally. Yeah, we got a lot of Osmond stuff to look forward to, the recording shit. Yeah, there's so much Britney-related stuff, so that's great. Yeah, so part 3 should be good. Well, how do you feel about pushing forward to go to discuss last week's episode of Southern Charm?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, hell yeah. What did you think about this episode of Southern Charm? I think it was called Red Flags, or No More Red Flags?
Red Flags, yes.
It was called Red Flags?
Yeah.
What was that about? JT? Red Flags?
Maybe Shep's girlfriend and...
it was about all of the red flags that are possibly coming up with this cast. I mean, not
clever.
Not the best title I've ever seen. It starts out, I thought this was a kind of a fun moment. Patricia FaceTimes Whitney. It's kind of one of those like brief little sequences, and Whitney goes, I'm at the Cannes Film Festival. I guess this was right around Cannes or whatever. And he said that he was having the time of his life. He showed off the beautiful Cannes. Did you see that moment?
Yeah. He was like, are you getting along in the house with my absence? And she's like, no. And I'm like, but does he live there all the time? Like, I thought he also lived in like LA. Like, he's always like jet setting,
Yeah, but I think he probably helps manage some of that stuff. And he's always in that bar, that beautiful bar he bought. So that was an interesting moment. I thought it was cool that Whitney was at Cannes. I wonder if he was giving, the standing ovations that they do
he
at
handed
Cannes.
out the Palme d'Or.
Yeah, I was thinking he either did that or was he at all the screenings? Because I was looking at the standing ovations for that year, and Megalopolis got an 8-minute standing ovation at Cannes.
I would love to talk to Whitney about that.
I wonder if he was in the audience, keeping that standing ovation up. And then we get a scene where Madison has a meeting with Craig. And it seems like, they know that they can't make this fracture work anymore because there's only 4 main cast members that people want to watch. So they instantly had to have a Madison and Craig scene again. And this whole meeting is just about how Craig was really wrong about offering the olive branch to JT, and Madison kind of makes him, like she was like, I told you all along how horrible JT was, and I expected you to have loyalty to me. What did you think about that scene?
I'll start by saying I feel like this show is becoming like meet at a brewery show. Like there's just like I've watched so many times ordering like mozzarella sticks and like a pilsner. Like that happens 3 times in this episode. Which I guess isn't that uncommon, but it feels a little bit like boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking they go to so many restaurants in Charleston. I was like, are there like 1,000? I mean, there must be 1,000 restaurants, but I don't think they've ever done a repeat restaurant. Like every single episode, they go to 3 or 4 different ones that I've never seen, and I've never seen this one at all. This scene kind of made me, mad a little bit because it's again talking about what we talked about last week. Madison is mad at JT for bringing up, we've already talked about this, the true things that she wants to write him off the show because JT brought up the phone call that Brett, the FaceTime or whatever that Brett, or she admitted actually happened with JT. We know that the bitch comment about Patricia was wrong. So the fact that Madison is now like trying to push the plot forward by now being pissed at Craig for even thinking about bringing JT onto the show. I'm just like, all of this is not working for me because I'm not the central point that you are trying to rally around. I don't agree with. So that, you know what I mean? Like, that was kind of shit.
I did like the part where she brings up Craig and Austen's friend divorce, and she's like, I just feel bad for Austen. She said, I always feel bad for Austen, and they do sort of a relationship montage of when they were together, which, of course, that's how we know her. Like, we watched that all, but it's so weird to be reminded that they dated for real.
Totally.
But they, of course, use the moment to play the clip, the Madison clip, which I never get tired of, frankly.
Yeah, I was thinking that they should start just playing that clip even in scenes with other people on the show. Like if Whitney and Patricia are just talking about like having a tea party at Patricia's, they should just put in the Madison clip,
Just do it whenever it's like a Rodrigo scene because it's boring. They'll put it in.
Yeah. Amy, I have to say one thing. I think your mic is rattling a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
I don't know what it is. We'll probably edit out this moment, but it was just kind of, I don't know what it was.
How about now?
Oh, 10 times better. Yeah, maybe we'll clip out that moment, but
probably not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too distracting. Okay, so that was, not the best thing I've seen in my life. And then Craig, admits again, he's like, oh yeah, you were so right about JT. He was so shitty. And it's like, we saw the scene. It was him saying that Gaston had cheated on his friend or whatever. It's like, it was a compelling moment on Southern Charm. So the fact that he's getting pissed off at it was just like, I don't know, kind of lame to me.
Yeah. Okay. Then, the JT clip or moment is the only person he can talk to. It's his mom. He calls Bunny. She's like, it sounds like you're in your hollow apartment because he like hasn't decorated yet. And he's like, I'll leave my credit card for you. Just decorate my apartment. He tells her he has to go hang out with his like elementary school friends because he's on the outs in this group. And his mom makes reference to Venita. She jokes that that she is his fiance. So we're making it clear that his mom likes her and that's going to be a thing now. This goes straight into Leva going to Venita's, and they're talking about her chemistry with JT.
Yes, totally. And Leva loves that Venita has a crush. They talk about all the moments where JT was looking attractive to Venita. She said she started to feel a little bit of feelings at the reunion, last season's reunion, when they were talking about how like well dressed JT was and how he had a great job. Venita started having a crush on him then, and Leva was talking about how it's like cute or whatever. She says JT is she thinks he's a marriage guy because I think JT was already married, right?
Oh,
I think he was just post-divorce when he started the show last season. And then Levitt talks about how passionate JT probably is, that he might be the kind of guy that would throw you up against a wall while he was making love to you. And Vanita is like, Leva, stop. And it's kind of cute. Like, I really do. I think I enjoy this storyline with Vanita. I mean, yeah, like Vanita having a crush on JT. I actually kind of find it sweet in a way because I do see their chemistry. I think you could be a little jaded and maybe say that, I don't know, like maybe JT is faking his way through this thing, or Vanita is. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you think he is?
We'll get to it in their one-on-one that stank to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But I think that Vanita is actually feeling these feelings. Like, you can see the butterflies within her when she talks about JT. And I find that kind of fun to watch, that she has a crush on JT. How JT is handling it is another story. Right. Then we get to Sally and Molly have a scene. They walk into a coffee shop. What did you think about when they sat down to have a conversation with each other?
I was like, damn, Sally, you're not wearing a bra, is what I thought. But
really?
You can't chime in on that, but that's what I thought.
What, Sally wasn't?
Absolutely not.
Wow, yeah, they kind of have a scene. It was interesting. I felt a little bit like there was some, nervous energy about what are we supposed to do here. We're both first-time cast members. Do we know each other? Do we like each other? I also noticed the thing with Molly and Sally. I was like, has Austen met either of them? I was like, they're like full-time cast members, and they're like in every scene. And I don't think that there's been a moment where like Austen has acknowledged either of them, and I'm sure like that goes for other people too. But it's kind of odd to have new cast members that have like been at multiple parties, and you don't know how they know each other, or you know what I mean. They kind of try to explain it, but I just think it's like they're not doing the best job of like integrating Sally and Molly with the other cast members, in my opinion.
Right.
They talk about all of this stuff. They sit in these chairs and they immediately plop down because they're too low. And then they talk about all of the different things that they've had done to their face and bodies for their appearance. What did you think about that?
Andy will love this. They got it out of the way immediately.
Cutting gums.
Yeah. Sally's like, I just got my chin, my like lips and chin done. And Molly's like, I just got my chin done. Then Molly's like, I got my gums cut back. They both do Botox. Sally said she's getting her boobs taken out because she got them while she was with her ex-husband, and they're not really her vibe.
She assumed that ex wanted, I mean, I'm just going to say it, bigger, I guess, breasts. So she made the assumption. She said that he didn't even say it, but the way he had X's, I guess, or something, that also made her think that was the case. So she just kind of made that decision to bump him up.
Yeah, I wonder if she can get a deal because she works at the hospital. Maybe the anesthesiologist will hook it up. Oh,
I'm sure. And then we learned about that new procedure, which I had never heard of, for Molly. She
did the transfer.
Yeah, she did the opposite. So the opposite of what Sally wanted, right? Molly got stuff from her ankles.
Yeah, she undid her cankles and put them in her boobs. And then they start talking about that they both agree that Shep is hot.
Yes. Yep. And we learn that Ryan, he was kind of trying to justify his existence on this show.
Nice try, Ryan.
He was like, he whispered during Molly's beautiful performance, he said, hey, Molly likes you. And then we find out that Molly found that out at JT's Airbnb or whatever. So then he's kind of getting the ball rolling on possibly getting Shep to, or, know that Molly likes him.
Shep said, that's okay.
Yeah, he was fine. He was kind of like, Ryan, we don't need to talk right now. I'm paying attention to this.
Shut up. Are you even on this show?
Yeah. Yep. So I would say, just the first half, maybe not the best episode of Southern Charm. No. What do you think so? I mean, not firing on all cylinders.
No, it's kind of like the spinny wheel of death on your MacBook where you're just like, what are we like doing here?
Yeah.
And then we get back into our main cast here. Shep and Austen meet at another Are they at a brewery too?
Yeah, but this one is different because he's allowed to bring little Craig. Shep
Right.
he goes, I love dog-friendly bars. And little Craig is underneath the seat the entire time. But then Austen comes over and Austen did a full trip to Charlotte, I guess, with Audrey, and they play a little clip of it. He was like, I just got back from having a trip or whatever. And they just showed like one clip of him with his girlfriend.
Does she live there?
Oh, does she? Okay,
I think
so he
so.
was okay. Yeah, but I mean, for him having a new girlfriend, she's only had like one scene.
I know, she must be boring.
You think so? Do you think that's why they chopped up that Charlotte trip and didn't show too much of it, even though
Yeah, because they've only they showed them with his parents. They've had them on the phone, but yeah, we really haven't seen much. Maybe they don't want to emphasize his girlfriend life because it's just kind of not that exciting.
yeah. Does Southern Charm I guess do all shows have to have most of the cast members be single because all of the drama comes from people not in relationships?
I mean, it doesn't help for them to be monogamous.
But all of Housewives franchises, like most of them,
Housewives are different.
why?
Southern Charm and Vanderpump Rules are about people fucking. And Summer House.
They're about people fucking.
Yeah.
Well, can't they be? Yes, but can't they be compelling without that aspect of it?
Well, we're finding out.
Right. That's true. Okay. Well, then we get a little bit. Okay. Now talk about complicated relationships. Shep says, I was spiraling for 2 days. And Austin goes, what the hell happened? And Shep says that Sienna went to his girlfriend, went to Africa. She didn't text him for 2 days. She got back to the Bahamas, and Shep sent a text that shows how worried he was. Basically, what the hell is going on? Text.
He seems so annoying, actually. Reading his text, he's like, I was worried about you, but I like when I'm worried because it means that I care. And like, I like that I care. And he's like, I was going to fly out and see you that weekend because I didn't have to film. And at one point he uses the angry emoji, like the scowling yellow emoji.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I've ever even used that in my life.
I for sure have not. I don't even know accurately what it would convey. I'm pissed.
Yeah. And she just goes, sorry, I'm going through a lot and kind of needed the space. I was like, oh, she like hates you.
Yeah, the fact that she said that she didn't tell him when she had arrived in a new country and hadn't talked to him for 2 days, I think that's a bad sign. And then he's kind of asking Austen for advice, and you can tell that Shep really loves Sienna. I mean, he's kind of blown away by Sienna, much more than it appears she is with him. And then Austen gives him the advice where he goes, hey, you just need to pull back. Don't text her for a few days. Don't let her, what absence makes the heart grow fonder, basically. Let her miss you. And Shep's like, but I don't, he's kind of saying like, I don't really want to play games. Like I really care about her and my instinct is to text her. But Austen is saying, don't do that.
Yeah. Austen kind of narcs him out and is like, you've only hung out with her for 6 weekends. She's just a 26-year-old girl who probably just wants to have fun. I do think it's funny to watch Shep like absolutely freak out doing exactly what he's done to every girl he's ever dated in his entire life.
Totally. You mean like ghosted them for
it's
weeks?
like it's a total role reversal, which is probably the only reason he is obsessed with her is because she's the first girl that doesn't really give a shit. Like she could take him or leave him, which is not what he's used to.
Totally. Yeah, and we learn a little bit more about that in this next scene. So this scene was fun. I liked this. We go to Patricia's house, and she is in her wonderful outfit, in slippers, and she's ringing a bell for her butler, ringing the shit out of it, waiting for, is his name Randy?
Yeah.
Randy to bring up champagne because she's having Madison come over. And then Randy makes a huge mistake instantly. He's kind of like a comedy of manners butler where everything he does, like he's putting like wine in the wrong glasses, he doesn't know where the flour is, he's slipping and falling in the kitchen, but he brings up champagne in a flute, a fully stocked or fully filled to the top, and she goes, that's great, but I have Madison coming over, do you mind bringing it back to us in coupe glasses.
The good stuff. I like, it's kind of sad. She rings her bell for an extended period of time. Then she goes, I wasn't sure if the bell was loud enough. And he goes, it was.
Yeah, he goes, I've been hearing that for almost 5 minutes. And she continues to ring the bell for him a lot. I was really clocking how absent Randy was, or if Patricia was wanting him to get something new before he could even be back with the things she wanted before. That's got to be a butler's worst nightmare. You get the bell rung on you, you go to do the first task, you're in the process of that, and then you hear the bell ring again. You're like, shit.
Bigger staff.
Yeah. That's when you relegate it to second butler or whatever.
It's giving the captain teaching Maria the bell whistle for all the children, and she's like, "That's for animals, not me."
Oh yeah, and it makes you. And also in that, think of the staff of that house. Was Maria the governess?
Yes.
But then there was also that person just in the house that was giving her advice about the drapes and the captain's backstory and stuff. Apparently she couldn't ever do anything about the kid, for the kids. What was her, what were her duties?
Job. Yeah. What's that chick's name? That's like, she gets the fabric for her. There's the evil
Baronet?
Nazi butler. He's dating the Baroness, the captain.
Of
and
course.
Then there's that's a good question.
I always wonder what she was up to. She's kind of like the house, I don't know. Yeah. The
house manager.
House manager. But anyway, Randy was kind of having his bell rung like down there. He didn't know what the hell was going on. Madison arrives, and she brought her own champagne, and then they take it to the room, that wonderful room, and they have caviar with chips and cream cheese and mother of pearl knives.
It would normally be creme fraiche, but maybe it was cream cheese.
Oh, I think you're probably right. Creme fraiche. And then Patricia immediately goes, Madison, what's been going on Southern Charm? Please tell me. And that's when Madison brings up the latest updates on Sienna, Shep's girlfriend.
Yeah, she's like, I've met her. She's lovely. But I've heard, or they show unseen footage from the dog party that Sienna reveals that her grandma is a huge fan of Southern Charm. And she's like, that's actually the only reason I went out on a date with Shep, because I knew my grandma would love it.
Yeah. Why did she say that on, I'm sure everyone was kind of shocked to hear that on camera. That's about as big as a fourth wall break as it gets.
Right. I mean, maybe she's just doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah. And they show more exclusive footage of that, where she was also saying I want to hang out with you guys more. And also I'm trying to get the cast to go on a trip to the Bahamas so they can all meet my grandma, basically, who's the president of the fan club. And then that's when Patricia gives the biggest reveal for Southern Charm heads, for you and I. She goes, Sienna contacted Whitney first on Raya before she contacted Shep, which is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're going straight to the top with Whitney, I'm sorry, but it only means one thing.
What?
That you want to be on the show.
So do you think that Sienna's grandma was that's the executive producer, so if you see him on Raya, that's the first one that you should? Yeah,
because I feel like with Shep, Austen, or Craig, maybe you actually would want to just have sex with one of them because you think they're cute. But if you're matching with Whitney on Raya, you're doing it for business reasons.
Oh, so you're saying that Whitney isn't enticing enough as a human to where you'd want to date him ever?
Correct.
What do you think Whitney's Raya photos are like? I could imagine Pappy
guitar.
Total Renob, him on stage as Renob. I was thinking one is him holding that Pappy Van Winkle's thing and pointing at it with a receipt that says $2,000 of how much it costs. One is probably behind that bar shaking a what is that called when those two cylinders mesh together?
A martini shaker, and then he'll talk to you about Ian Fleming for an hour.
Because Patricia dated his nephew or something? Was that what the connection was? Yeah, him reading an Ian Fleming novel, and then last is definitely a step and repeat with Southern Charm, in the background at the red carpet.
Yeah. Some like weird movie he produced that no one saw.
So Whitney and Shep really get the most overlap because remember a huge scandal last season was that after Shep and Taylor broke up, Taylor sent that like revealing almost nude thing where she goes "come one, come all" to Whitney. And then we also Molly also made love to Whitney first and then now loves Shep. So they kind of
true.
There's a lot of overlap between those two.
Yeah, I guess if all you care about is height, then you have your pick of the litter in Charleston because they're all like over 6'3", I think.
Yeah, they're all tall men except JT, and that's kind of why they treat him like shit in a way.
They're like, you don't belong here.
Yeah. Were you happy to see Raya mentioned when we're in the thick of the Raya fever with Craig being on Raya?
It's true. They're all freaking on there.
Yeah.
Okay, now we get Whitney. Craig calls Whitney saying, I'm about to meet up with Austen to talk about this podcast shit. And Whitney's like, offer him somewhere between like 35K and 50K. That should do it. That'll be plenty. And Craig's like, I'm going to start with 30 and see what he says. And I was like, we're doing this for real?
Yeah, I will say, I don't understand this at all. I don't. What about the dynamic between him and Austen made it seem like Austen wants to quit their podcast forever?
It seems
and not
to be like
be
the only
friends with
part of their friendship that is working. Like he's like, what do you mean? I see you twice a week to do the pod, even though he tries to claim that Austen is too much of an alcoholic to deal with doing the podcast. I don't believe that.
I think Craig has like business brain now, because he said, all I do is business. And so he like wanted to add a business element to the Austen and him dynamic and get it into the realm of being a wheeler and dealer or something like that.
Like
but
he's like, while you're playing checkers, I'm playing chess because I'm thinking if this relationship's not working, how am I going to monetize? Like I'm always like thinking big.
Yeah, something like that.
But that was kind of Paige's idea.
Yeah, totally. But nothing about what their relationship dynamic has been before makes you think that this is actually what Craig thinks is a good idea. It's also a horrible offer. I was thinking about this. Like, I don't know what I would have accepted as Austen, but like my rebuttal would have been like $100,000 and 10% of the proceeds of Pillows and Beer for the rest of eternity. Because he started that podcast with him. So all the audience that was already built,
Wow, now I know.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, what a shitty offer. Even in the realm of business, it's so bad. It's like, it's such a ridiculous offer.
Unnecessary because, I mean, I guess if the idea is that he wants to do his own podcast, that he'll just take over the feed and just start. Like if you subscribe to Pillows and Beer, all of a sudden overnight it's just pillows and pillows.
Yeah.
Then you get all of those subscribers. So yeah, that would be worth more. But if he's just saying money to end it, like at what point I'm like, just end it then and do your own thing. You don't have to pay him anything.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. Pillows and Beer could be on hiatus and he has the Craig Conover show. You wouldn't have to change one thing except just tell the audience on Pillows and Beer, subscribe to my new podcast. It's not how anything works. And it's odd to me.
And it's so dramatic.
It reminds me, it is. It's too dramatic. It reminds me of when Craig was on Winter House. And I remember it was one of my first times knowing who Craig was. And he pulled out that big wad of cash to get the big bedroom at Winter House, and Kyle Cook goes, put your fucking money away. Like, we all make money. You don't need to like bribe me to get the best room. And he was really found it to be very off-putting, and I did too as a viewer. I was like, is that a feature of this person before I got to know him? And now everything he's doing as this business-brained person is like that. It's like him pulling out a big wad of cash to settle his differences. It's like he thinks that he got to a new echelon of behavior around all of his friends.
No, that was one of the worst things he ever did, and I have never forgiven him for it because I'm like, I knew you were shitty. And he embarrassed Paige, which I kind of enjoyed because she was so hard on Kyle, which I know that Kyle deserves to be hard on, but I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed when she had to have a shitty boyfriend and had to like the same way Amanda did, where
Yeah,
I'm like, cut her some slack.
because Craig put a big lampshade on his head and started kicking beer bottles off the table. Do you remember? And crashing them all around.
Yeah, and then he was like, "We'll pay a freaking maid. I'm not doing it."
Yeah, he was just throwing money all around. Do you think there's no part of the Paige and Craig split that had to do with him choosing Spritz Society over Loverboy, right?
No, because Paige doesn't even like Kyle.
Right. That's true. But you don't think that she was like, wow, what a shitty brand deal. This makes no sense. Loverboy is so much cooler, and I love Amanda.
I do think that probably there are certain things where she didn't like that it was all entangled. You know what I mean? Like, that's not that pleasant.
Yeah, right. And, well, I was also thinking because whoever the Spritz Society owners are, like they thought that they were getting Craig and Paige as a package deal. They thought when they hired him as a sponsor that you get some Paige runoff. But now that they're broken up, they only have Craig. Right. People were saying that Panera deal too. Paige didn't like Panera as much as Craig. Did you see those Panera ads that he was doing?
No.
It was called A New Era for Panera, and it was like they have, I guess, different type of bread. Like way thicker, sort of rustic bread. And Craig was
Panera.
It kind of blew my socks off when I was in high school because I was like, whoa, broccoli cheddar.
Two?
You picked two broccoli cheddar bread bowl. I was like, I could eat the whole. I would drink the soup, eat the bowl. Yeah. But now I think my Panera days are behind me. I just don't think I crave that type of food anymore.
I always use that as an example of like how at one point in time we were allowed to eat whatever we wanted and be the skinniest we've ever been. I would go there all the time and I would get the Mediterranean veggie sandwich on like a baguette with the side of soup in a bread bowl. And then as a side, they ask you apple or bread, and I'd say bread.
It's awesome. It was blowing your mind. It was before bread.
Triple bread.
Oh my God. It was before people had there. I don't know what it was. There was a stigma against bread around 2005. And then
it's Atkins ass.
Oh my God. Dr. Atkins. Don't get me started on him. Panera Bread was like, people love bread. It'll never end. Do you want a side of bread? Do you want your soup and bread? Bread on your sandwich. And then something happened where the cultural lens on bread completely shifted. And now Panera, that's why. The ad was A New Era for Panera. Sorry, it was no more bread. And then Craig was eating, it's in like wraps and stuff.
Boo.
And Craig was showing off that he likes to eat Panera now because it has less bread. And then Paige was in the ad with him. And I just wonder if that was just too many sponsors that Paige didn't agree with aesthetically, where she was like, Craig, no more of this shit, quite possibly.
In my Panera era. No, I'm like, sometimes things that are, if you're getting like a spring roll or sometimes like lettuce cups are a fun appetizer, but whenever I'm with someone and they order something like protein style, I'm like, oh, you're like that?
Oh yeah, you mean like at In-N-Out how they serve a burger with like little sheets of lettuce on top of it? Yeah, you gotta have a little bread. It's the only thing that makes you feel full.
Come on. You only live once.
It's so true. And bread is so good. I mean, top 6 food, I would say. Top 7.
Oh gosh. If you ever go to a restaurant that has like freshly made bread, particularly for me, like sourdough, and then they give you like salted butter, I'm like, if I could only eat this until I die, that's all I would care about. Like, I don't have a sweet tooth, but I have a sourdough and butter tooth.
Yeah, I have a total bread mouth too. And when you taste really good bread, it really makes you think like when you're having Jersey Mike's or Mike's,
any chips you get,
or Jimmy John's, what good bread can taste like. And my quintessential good bread, which I don't have a lot of good bread, but the best bread in the world is when you go to All About the Bread, that sandwich, and you're like, you know that bread, right?
Oh, yeah.
That bread. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe bread can taste like this. But
I've told you this before. I've been to All About the Bread more than once when they said, we're out of bread.
Really?
And I'm like, isn't that your entire
Yeah, that should never happen. That should absolutely never happen. But so anyway, it's not at all. I don't actually believe that these shitty sponsorships that Craig was pulling Paige into are at all responsible. But no one even batted an eye for 1 second saying, what about the Spritz Society, Loverboy feud? What does this mean now, the fact that they've separated? Because that was a huge wedge between the two groups. But anyway.
Craig, it's revealed that he's bringing Shep without telling Austen that he's bringing Shep. Craig is more on the side of, he's like a monogamist. He's like a girlfriend guy, a future wife guy. And Shep is like, I like your advice better because you're more like, make it work and like, don't play games. Whereas Austen is like, if you wait a week, she'll be desperate to hear from you. And like, you'll have, she'll realize what she's missing or whatever. I also want to shout out that like Shep is going to a brewery with his friends and he's dressed like Shep needs a makeover. Like he wears like, it's like a palm print golf shirt that he wears tucked in with a belt with like dress shoes. I'm just like, what is your deal?
I always just look at Shep and I say, that's a total Shep outfit. And I just kind of like, he has such a signature style. And I always just cast a brush like that's how Shep dresses. So I didn't even notice this.
It's upsetting. I know they like roll differently out there. Like the styles are different, but it's upsetting to me. Putting that out there.
I sort of wanted to dress like I was in Southern Charm.
That'd be a good costume.
I would love to sort of try on some of their styles. Yeah, so he needs Shep as a mediator, he says. He says when things get really tough, Austen and I can't have good conversations, so Shep is the perfect person to bring. And then Austen is already there at Holy City Brewing, and he can't believe that Craig brought Shep. He's visibly pissed. He doesn't even try to hide it. He goes, Craig and Shep haven't shown up to a place in 3 years, and all of a sudden he's showing off his friendship with Shep to make me sort of seem like the odd man out. What's interesting is that Shep is being played as leverage by both of them in a way while they're fighting, because Austen just had his own scene with Shep where he was giving the advice, Yeah,
it was a little bit of an ambush. Like weird to not be like, oh, FYI, like I was just with Shep, he's gonna come. Like that would have been fine.
They started out with a very fun moment for me, probably the highlight of this episode for me. Craig goes, are you going to start this out like The Godfather? Like do a full blown thank you for joining me? And I was like, what a quote from The Godfather to bring up, the thank you for joining me. When Marlon Brando, and instantly he says, thank you for joining me. But then Craig reveals why he didn't know what the hell The Godfather has ever said in his life. He goes, I haven't seen The Godfather. Can you believe it? And I was stunned.
They're like, I'm not surprised, Craig.
Yeah. And then he goes, but I've never told Paige. And then they leave this all in, which I liked them talking about The Godfather. Austen goes, Paige has seen The Godfather and she likes it. And Craig goes, oh yeah, it's a huge deal to her. And Shep goes, of course she's seen The Godfather. She's Italian. And then Austen goes, what the hell does that mean?
I still think there's a very high chance that Paige has not seen The Godfather.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe on Summer House this season, we'll find out the truth. I'll only say this for about 20 seconds, but one of my favorite scenes in Real Housewives of New Jersey is that Teresa always was saying how we have to abide by the rules of The Godfather, and she was always so pissed that Melissa had never seen it. And then all of a sudden, at the end of one of the episodes, Teresa goes, come to our theater room, Melissa. I'm going to show you The Godfather. They close the door, and you hear the music of The Godfather. I forget how to do the theme song.
Yeah, I'm just hearing the New Jersey music.
They basically play the beautiful introduction music of The Godfather, and then for some reason they never ever again talk about if Melissa watched The Godfather and what she thought about it. It's one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in New Jersey history. But anyway, Craig needs to watch The Godfather. That was my takeaway. What the hell are you doing? It's 2.5 hours long. You'll love it.
Get together with the boys once you all make up. And then, Craig is like, it feels great to be here. Doesn't this just feel right? And Austin's like, what the fuck is going on? And he goes, all right, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking $30K to hand over the pod. And Austin's like, what? like he's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, I didn't know that's what we were doing.
Yeah, and also it never gets brought up again. I just realized when you said that they immediately stop talking about him ending the podcast, and they immediately go into friendship, navigating the friendship. So it's like he was kind of like, "What the hell are you talking about? We're not even going to go
I'm
into
not even entertaining that bullshit. Like, that's so stupid."
Yeah. Oh, I thought of the Godfather theme song. Bum, ba-na-na, ba-bum. You know that part?
So beautiful.
So anyway, yeah, and then he goes, "I'm not even entertaining that. I would obviously ask for $100,000 and 10% of all of the income from the podcast for the rest of the life." But he goes, "I meant more about our friendship. I was talking about the interpersonal relationships between you and other people, and how you don't spend quality time with us. And you just took your ball and went home. You immediately said, 'I'm writing off this guy. I'm not inviting him to my party. I'm having scenes with JT.' So in a way, he's right. But then Craig keeps saying, 'What more do you want from me?' Which in a way, I also agree with Craig. Because when you hear that they were doing the podcast twice a week, they were getting lunch, they were going to the gym. We already said that we felt like Austen was a little bit overstating this rift between him and Craig. So I also don't know what Craig is expected to do. But then Shep says, 'We need more times like this, getting oysters at a brewery in the middle of the day.' And it's just like, for some people, that can't be an aspect of their friendship anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of just like, they need to find the middle ground here.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like, I understand on one hand, he's like, what do you mean? I see you like multiple times a week, which is probably more than most men can say, friendship wise. Like, I think it's hard for men over 30 to like get together. At least from what I've seen.
Oh, it's hard. Don't even get me started. I haven't seen my friends in months.
So sad. But he, at the same time, I'm like, obviously Shep and Austen agree that there's something going on there where Craig has this weird wall up of, and I would understand if it was truly like all they ever did was party and like go out to get laid and like after hours, blah, 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 which I think it was for a long time. But I believe them that like what they were saying, they're like, literally what we're doing right now is all we want, which I'm like, there's literally no reason Craig can't do that unless he just doesn't want to. If the understated thing that he doesn't want to say is that like, I don't really want to fucking hang out with you guys. It might just be that he's like, I don't like really want to be around you guys that much. That might be the answer.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and maybe a part of it is that he loves his house and he loves turning on those fireplaces.
Get over it.
No, but if I had a house that nice, it would kind of be hard to pry me away from it too. I'd be doing cannonballs in the pool. I'd be electronic.
Just by yourself for life. Like everyone's like, I don't really want to go over there. Like we're doing stuff over here, and he's just like, I'll never leave. He's like a Daniel Plainview, just bowling by himself until he dies.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. But Daniel Plainview ended up actually loving that lifestyle. I mean, he had one butler.
Great for him.
Well, he was drinking whiskey all the time. He had that one butler that helped him out. He hated when that one guy showed up to ask for money. I forget, Eli. So, yeah, you know what? All of this is that Craig realized that 95% of his happiness is right now. He loves Paige. He loves his business. He loves making money. He loves his house. And friends are much more a slimmer piece of the pie. His life was perfect now, and that's what he's trying to tell them. Now, when Paige is gone, that 40% of the pie, whatever Paige was taking up to make his perfect life, is going to be reduced. And now he's unfortunately added a new hindrance to a lot of his interpersonal relationships, like Austen said, where he's now going to be searching for more, because his life is different now, post-Paige.
Yeah. Well, it's just weird to be like, all I want to do is fuck my girlfriend and like be in my garden or whatever. And I'm like, your girlfriend doesn't even live there.
Yeah, but then they make love immediately when they see each other.
But that leaves like many days and weeks out of the month and year for him to hang out with other people.
It's true. We have to get to the bottom of what Craig is truly saying. What does he want? What does he need? I think a part of him is total money minded, like we've been talking about over and over again, and that's what he's deriving pleasure from. And he loves that Paige was the one that was also saying, you go for it, like let's get the world, like let's tackle the world together. and Shep and Craig are left, by the wayside a little bit by those decisions. But for me, a lot of this is just how real is all of this, because Craig is already making it seem sort of fake by talking about buying out Austen from the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if I fully am 100% of the way there with them about this conflict in their dynamic. So it also, they leave on a shitty note. It's not resolved. Craig goes, just so you know, even though I've acknowledged your feelings, my life is not going to look very much different after this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm curious to see if after the breakup he went crawling back, or if he just had to find new friends.
I think he went crawling back. He goes, Austen, you were saying you wanted to hang out, right? Okay, last scene.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I thought it was sweet. Vanita is cooking a big meal for JT.
Flaw number one, trying to woo a man, making him eat a whole branzino on the couch at the coffee table.
Really? Wait,
you want to take a bone-in fish dinner and eat it at the coffee table?
Wait, well, okay, I don't want to make myself in my lived experiences make it a rationale for why I'm okay with it, but why? What's wrong with eating a branzino?
Just like on a little plate on your lap, holding it up. That's so stressful. And she just bragged about being the queen of hosting, and I'm like, that was a charcuterie setup, not a whole branzino dinner setup.
So what could she have done? Had a dining table.
Well, she said she turned her dining table into a closet.
Oh, so that's when he said, JT gives a new catchphrase before we get to the Branzino dinner. He goes, no wonder you have a big closet. You need a lot of room for fashion. That's where mommy makes her money.
Their chemistry's off the charts.
He goes, that's where mommy makes her money. And she goes, that's where mommy makes her money. And it has this total flirtatious energy. But you know what? I didn't think for 1 second about this Branzino bone-in fish dinner on the couch. But now when I'm thinking of the logistics, I like cutting the fish head off, peeling the skin and flakes off. There's a lot of room for it to, I guess, get on your pants.
Yeah, like a salad, like putting the side salad. It's just like a whole thing. Like, it's one thing if you're having like pizza and you could just like hold it over your plate and it's like really easy. But like a knife and fork when you're like holding the plate and sitting on the couch, and like, I was like stressed out just thinking about it.
So like the only thing worse would have been like soup, right? Because that you're having to hold the soup bowl on your legs, get it in your mouth. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm so not familiar with like the rules of manners and like etiquette and stuff like that. So I didn't even think of the Branzino dinner.
Well, it's
like
not
that.
like what Emily Post says. Just think about how much that would suck to do.
Well, wait, can I think for just a second before I fully commit to your take? So I'm imagining I'm JT. The Branzino comes out piping hot out of Vanita's oven. There's
Probably
veggies.
Reeks of fish.
It's stuffed with garlic. There's veggies and spinach on the side. I'm sitting at the table, and I have to hover over and put the fish in my mouth. Yeah, I'm going to think about this more, and then let's talk about it.
It's very complicated.
And then she goes, does mommy, or he goes, he didn't call her mommy again. He goes, she asks how the food is. And he goes, it's bomb. This is very, very good. He's delighted. Yeah. And then he goes, let me talk about the elephant in the room here. Right.
Yeah. He goes, well, my mommy said I should marry you.
Oh, right. He goes, my mommy. And it is, all of the things are there. Mommy likes Vanita. Vanita's texting mommy saying, happy Mother's Day. The Branzino fish, she made this dinner. I understand that there are different aspects of how she could have made that meal better for JT, but it has all of the energy of like, oh, this couple could be navigating further. But in your mind, were you thinking this seems kind of all just a little silly because of the JT dynamic, or from both of them, that this doesn't seem real?
Yeah. He's like, the Branzino is sweet and spicy, kind of like us. And he goes, you know there's chemistry, right? He goes, am I extremely attracted to you? Yes. Like, it just felt very like he was like kind of doing this like acting where it felt like rom-com-y, where he was like, unfortunately, I am seeing someone. And by the end of it, when he goes, all right, I think it's time for me to go. Like, he was being like very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys hadn't even acknowledged this till 1 second ago. And now you're like, I should go.
Yeah. So I don't know what's wrong with me psychologically or emotionally or from a matter of taste, but I enjoy JT and don't find him to be overly performative. And I actually believed that he had chemistry with Venita up until he gives the bombshell that he's been dating someone. But I'm alone because whenever I talk about JT being like, I defend JT, I don't know why they're treating him like this. I think he's compelling. I think he provides entertainment on the show. A lot of people are like, this guy's a nerd and he sucks and he's weird and we don't want to see him on television. I don't know what it is about me, but I don't feel that way at all. But I understand. I mean, I'm in the minority of this reaction. Most people feel the way you do. So I'm just wondering, I guess I have to sort of think about that. What's going on in my life that makes me not repulsed by JT's actions on the show.
Right.
But everyone else is repulsed. The Southern Charm cast is like, get this guy out of here. We hate him.
Yeah. I mean, I remember enjoying him in his first season until he became like a violent little freak at the end in his Charlie Manson outfit.
I stand by him because Austen was spinning him so fast on that bar stool. Do you remember? Austen kept going like, you need to be on a bar stool to get up in my face. And then he started spinning him around. And JT was kind of stuck spinning. So then that's when he did that headbutt. But I remember you were saying that you were getting tired of the Southern gentleman man of honor thing, you know, and he was making way too much of a big deal of Austen's fuckboy toxic behavior. That's when JT started to stretch my enjoyment a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So I am a little confused about the timeline. So he says here he just started seeing someone new. They show a picture like JT's new girlfriend, Allie. And Venita goes like, well, I'm not a homewrecker. So, you know, we shouldn't like, I don't know what she was saying. Like, we shouldn't like flirt anymore or whatever. Cause she says in her confessional, like, we've been flirting this whole time and you knew you had a girlfriend. But she had said, I forget where she said that he ghosted her. Do you remember that?
Yes, but I didn't watch it, so I don't know what, you know, I heard that, but I haven't done the reporting on my own. But yes, that's that he just completely stopped talking to her. But I kind of thought that was more like how he viewed the show, you know, and how he was treated. And if he left the show how he did, maybe he thought Venita was complicit in like the overall Southern Charm part of his life that wasn't working.
Right. Yeah. Cause I'm like curious. I'm like, did he stop dating that chick and then they had a little thing and then he ghosted her, or does she mean like after this?
Yeah, I was bummed out that the producers wanted to keep this and make this a reveal like now. It's just way too late with all of the scenes that we've seen JT have to not mention he's has a girlfriend. Felt really odd to just bring it up like as a surprise right now. It undercut the moment a little bit. It should have been discussed when in his first scene that he's seeing someone, but they wanted it to make this scene more dramatic, and it didn't work for me. I want to say, I guess I want to put a little poll out. I don't know if we can, but does anyone else in the world think that JT and Venita have chemistry? Or are you like Amy and the rest of the world that think that JT is sort of like an obnoxious, performative person that's faking his love of Venita? I don't know what those, you know, hashtags would be, but I want to know if there's anyone else who was like, you know, bowled over by their chemistry.
Yeah, let us know. I'm curious. I mean, I believe it more from her end, especially with like the ghosting comment. Like, I feel like maybe her feelings truly were hurt, or like if he was available, maybe they would have just moved forward, even if it was potentially spurred by the idea of them having a storyline. But she was like, well, I would do that. You know, like I would date him, you know, like could be interesting, could be fun. Yeah. And then he like, you know, kind of hurt her feelings or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I think no matter what, Vanita definitely does like JT. I mean, it's very hard to fake. Like, she is like giggling, blushing, thinking
He's
about
yummy.
it. He's yummy as hell. She said multiple times how yummy he is. Like, I fully
There's something I have for that phrase. I have what most people have for moist or panties. Yummy is very bad. For me.
yeah. It's not my favorite way to describe someone, but I fully buy that Vanita likes JT. It's whether JT is acting properly in this instance, and I'm still waiting for the mystery of the season for what pushed JT out and when he stopped production and if he ever came back. Because so far, I really, I forget if we've already mentioned this. Like, I thought that JT left the show because he was a loose cannon and he went off his nut and like was spiraling and screaming about fuckboy behavior and because when they talk about bitchgate in all the trailers and everything, like I thought like JT just went off the deep end.
Yeah,
he has so far not even come close for me. He's been a respectable gentleman for the most part, besides possibly how he's treating Vanita. So I still have no clue what the hell happened for why he quit.
Right.
So we'll see that soon. But yeah, as we were talking about it, I like Southern Charm when it's about the relationships and stuff, but a lot of this episode was lackluster, overall, and not too fun to parse. So I don't think that was like a great win for Southern Charm.
Yeah. I've been seeing that the Southern Charm ratings are going down and the Southern Hospitality ratings are going up.
Oh my God.
And they're about to like be even.
Could you imagine if Southern Hospitality started getting bigger ratings than Southern Charm? They would have to step it up in a big way. I mean, who knows what the hell Whitney and Patricia would start doing to make it more dynamic. I watched the first 8 episodes of Southern Hospitality, the first season.
Like this week?
Yeah,
Nice.
I was just like, we had nothing to watch, Megan and I liked it enough. Like, it's nothing that I thought the first season. So it's like people were saying that it gets much better.
Yeah.
There's like basically one dynamic playing out that they're kind of talking about over and over again, but I liked it enough. It was less daunting than I thought and more enjoyable, but nothing that I think that, if we ever did talk about it in the future, it must be getting much better now, like worth
That's what
recapping.
everyone says. I wish I could like download the first 2 seasons into my consciousness and just start from season 3.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll force you to explain everything you saw so that I don't have to watch the first season.
I will. When I watch the first season, I'll do a big explainer, and then you can skip right to season 2. But yeah, it had enough merit to understand why people like it, but it wasn't, I wasn't stop everything and
how much Leva is there?
Leva's in it a lot. She does some Lisa Vanderpump moments. It's a little more reasonable when Leva pops in because it is so work oriented. Vanderpump Rules was at the very beginning, but I felt like they were more talking about the cast lives outside of Sir pretty early. But it is all work centric. It's like for the majority of the season that I watched. So Leva's concerns are more realistic, but then she also starts to do Lisa stuff where it's like, Lisa, you have no say in this. Like, one of the characters, I think her name is oh my God, I forget her name, but she does like an Instagram of like her butt out on a trip, and Leva goes, we cannot post someone's butt on Instagram. Do you know how that reflects on Republic? And everybody's kind of like, it has nothing to do with your restaurant. So Leva kind of stretches
even Lala got to put her butt on Instagram. Yeah,
Leva kind of stretches what is her domain, but for the most part, it's so work centric that Leva has a good claim to ruling over them. Whereas Lisa lost the reins pretty quickly.
Right. I saw someone commented somewhere that there was like major drama, I think in the recent season, about like a shift getting covered or something like that, which I was like, honestly, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah,
like the good old days.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it is interesting how much drama and conflict you can get from the work environment, because Vanderpump Rules really left that behind. But well, I'm going to keep watching for sure, because it's it's like when I finally watched Miami, I was like, I completely understand. Like, why did I have an aversion to this? Like, it's just going to become a staple of what we watch. So
totally.
we'll watch it sometime. But anyway, well, anything else you have to say before we sign off this episode?
No. Looking forward to what is that? This week is the final RHONY reunion. That's what we're going to talk about next, right?
Oh my!
Or is
God.
there maybe one more?
Oh my God! Would you believe me that I don't know what part we're on? No, we're on part 2 coming up.
Yeah,
But I don't think we know if it's a 3-parter. But
right. We don't know for certain.
I don't think they've revealed. They probably
It might
have. But
be
no.
the end.
So it's just part 1 and part 2. That's the way to do it for RHONY. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Beverly Hills, and we'll talk about Potomac. We'll talk about the season finale of Potomac and a little bit about the episode that Amy and I missed. So that'll be coming out. When do those episodes come out? On Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely Thursday. And lastly, I'll just say, if you enjoy Turtle Time, we've got some wonderful reviews that came in over the last couple of weeks. They started rolling in for some reason, and I absolutely loved it. And so if you enjoy Turtle Time, but you haven't taken, the 30 seconds to write a review, Amy and I would appreciate that more than life itself. And also, we had a raffle update. Congratulations to a huge winner. That was sweet.
Yes, Becky. I just posted on our Instagram stories today screenshots of our donations to prove that we are not frauds who stole the money and ran away.
And I was going to say, I have to say, you do the math on it, add those totals. That should be exactly what we received. And no, we didn't Photoshop those receipts and put the Venmo handles on the top. It's not like you and I just had a huge...
taking off my Erica Jane earrings.
You have to believe in every way that those represent where the money went. It would be so despicable if Amy and I took that cash and bought stuff with it.
Scandal of all podcast history.
Yeah, so that was so nice. You and I became all of a sudden I felt like a full-blown philanthropist. It made me feel like, who's the biggest ones? Bill Gates.
Yeah, the Lawrence T. and Catherine D. MacArthur Foundation.
Oh my God, yeah. All of a sudden, it was just tapped into the philanthropological world for me, and it truly is what they say, giving makes you feel good.
Do you remember that Portlandia where they show all of those philanthropy names, and then he's like, and this is Fierce Like You?
No. What was that again? This is what?
Viewers Like You.
Oh, I don't remember that sketch at all. I might have to watch that after.
It's funny.
Yeah, good. So good. Yeah, well, good. Well, it was a philanthropic enterprise that we did finally.
Hold on, I'll grab one of the prizes I have right here.
Oh my God. Everybody go to YouTube at 1 hour, 54 minutes. Oh my God. Ooh. This is something you can't fake. Look, it
has a signature in it.
Oh my God. Do you want to reveal what the top says? Holy shit. So, Becky, you get to see that this is real. It wasn't just a bunch of fake garbage that we were pretending that we were going to give to the winner. That's a real item. There's a bunch of other real stuff. We're going to do our cameos, of course.
Yes. I'll be in touch. But figuring out what wonderful things she's going to select. But yeah, we should do that more often. It was really fun. Felt good to do. But yeah, if you didn't win all this stuff, you can buy it. We have a merch store with absolutely ridiculous items in it. So if you have any birthdays coming up or you just want to treat yourself, you can always go shopping there. Or treat yourself to our Patreon, where you get 4 bonus episodes a month where we talk about Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. Totally worth it, I say. Great value.
Oh, my God. Don't get me started. When you think about value, 95 episodes of an hour-long episodes recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning for $5 a month. I mean, my God. What is that like? What's the comparison? The Criterion Collection for $10 a month? And you don't even get access to the full Criterion Collection. They keep a bunch of stuff secret from you. Totally. So that's even better than the Criterion Collection. Well, that's it for me. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. We do it for viewers like you.
Totally.
But we'll see you again on Thursday. Stay safe out there, y'all.
Stay safe completely, and we'll be back on Thursday. We love you all, Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. We'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.